Welcome to chapter 4. In this chapter, we are going to complete the present tense verbal paradigm, and we're going to complete the possessive suffix paradigm. So we're going to meet the first and second person plural forms, which are now new to us. We're also going to meet the dative case, the last missing core grammatical case that we had. Okay, so first person singular, first person plural. Now that we know these, we can form all the present tense forms. And once again, we have a look at some paradigms with transcriptions and see that things that we perceive as irregular, if we're not really used to the orthography or just orthography doing its thing, there's not actually any irregularity here. We also now know all the forms of to be, which in the present tense is completely regular in the copulative sense when you're saying X is a doctor, except for the fact that you don't use a copula generally in the third person singular. We also meet the possessive suffixes, first person plural and first and second person plural. We look at how they are attached to stems. This is a new suffix type for us. Remember the suffix types that we looked at last week. You can have a look at the recording where we go through details, go over details of it. We also have a look at the second person plural, which is almost the same in how it is attached to the stem to the first person plural, which is na. Second person plural is da. The only difference that we have is that we have some alternation in pronunciation that is not actually orthographically marked, specifically that after obstruent consonants, da is pronounced actually as ta, but you don't see it. So if you say like your house, you write it as pert da, but you say it as pert ta. There's no voice d in there. But this is something that, since orthography doesn't mark this, you just have to learn the correct pronunciation of this. So we meet the dative suffix lan, which is attached to stems in the same manner that these possessive suffixes are. So you've got nothing new to learn here as regards to formation. You just have to learn the ending lan. Yeah, we look at some unpredictable irregularities that happen when the dative suffix is attached to words already marked with a possessive suffix third person singular. So now we know all 6 persons and we have the core grammatical cases. So we can also now look at all forms of the personal pronoun, where we have some forms of the personal pronouns that are not completely predictable, like that the genitive form of me, we is mem, nan. You just have to learn them. Yeah, we also see how the usage of personal pronouns in possessive constructions, like if I say my house, it's optional. You can say million per tem, but usually you just say per tem for my house. You'd only use a million, my, in it if you are marking a contrast or something like that. Well, my house doesn't look like that, or so. We discussed the category of animacy, which is not as central a concept in Mari as it is in, for example, in Russian, but it is still something relevant. So animacy, if something is living or not, reference materials will oftentimes tell you that animate nouns like person, child, or whatever cannot and do not occur in the local cases, the illative, lative, inessive, and lative. These 2 of 3 of these cases we have already met. And when you want to say in me in some poetical context or so, you have to use an postposition of sorts. Like if you want to say in a person, you say I dem Körger being inside, so like in the inside of a person or something, or inside of me if you want to say in me. But this rule that you oftentimes learn, that animate nouns never occur in local cases, it's not as ironclad as some reference material might let you believe. That if you have a verb savernash, which means to become something, to turn in something, and you want to say that you like turn into this kind of person, then you use the illative as you would like in Finnish use a transitive. Yeah, or if you want to say that Elvira understands that her fortune lies in children or in a child or so in this poetical context. This is from the corpus of Mars. So these are native speakers saying this. It does happen. It just doesn't happen very often. But what you absolutely do not find is the personal pronouns in local cases, like in them, in me. This just literally does not exist. So yeah, we revised the ordering of the possessive suffixes. We already looked at this previously, but now since we've learned, we've met a new case, we're gonna have, we now know all of the, we actually have representatives of all of these categories. So good time to have another look at this. Plural suffixes. We have at this point met 3 different plural suffixes in Mari. We have Vlak and Shamich. They're equivalent to one another more or less. It's basically the distinction between these is determined by dialect or background, basically. Depending on what dialect you speak, you might either prefer using Vlak or Shamich, and nowadays in literary Mari, both are allowed. These are just normal so-called additive homogeneous plurals. That is to say, they refer to groups where all the members are the same. Then we have got mit, which is a so-called associative plural or a heterogeneous plural, which is basically, it's like et al in English. If you'd say like a cat, Pyrrhus mit, it's the cat and company. Like if you know the movie Oliver and Co. or so. So it means a person or a thing with the associated people around it. Hungarian has such an ending with ek. Yeah, it's a new but for most, if you're coming from Western Europe, it's going to be a new concept for you. We've also got a plural suffix la used primarily in combination with local cases. We're going to meet this one much later, just putting it here in gray to indicate that it exists. You should be mentally prepared for it, but you don't have to learn it yet. Yeah, we're looking at the combination of plural suffixes with case suffixes and possessive suffixes. So case suffixes usually come after the plural suffixes. With possessive suffixes, both arrangements are possible. And when you have all 3, you have a combination of what you just saw now, that first comes plural suffix, then comes case suffix, and that as regards possessive suffix and plural suffixes, both arrangements go, but remember the restrictions that are in place as regards the arrangement of possessive suffixes and case suffixes. In practice, there's some variation in the arrangement of suffixes. So like pert, vlakemlan, pert, tem, vlaklan, both of these work. And the factors determining these are not extremely clear. Jorma Lutonen wrote his dissertation on the topic in 1997, studied it very extensively, and at the end had to say that it's still not entirely clear what factors govern this, and I wouldn't say that anybody has managed to shine more light on it in a significant manner since then. We are meeting the adverbial suffix la in this chapter that you attach. It has a number of other usages, which we're going to meet later. But what we're for now learning is if you have a noun referring to a member of a nationality, like Anglichan, an English person, Englishman, Englishwoman, or Finn, a Finn, Tatar, Tatar, Mari, Mari, you attach it to have an adverb referring to the language. Anglichanla in English, Finla in Finnish, Tatarla in Tatar, and here you have to be careful, Marla in Mari. These are very important forms to use. What else have we got? Words and word usage. As mentioned last week, we have a distinction in Mari between ti, you, and te, plural or formal you. It's like the distinction between tu and vous in French, or similar distinctions that exist in Finnish and Estonian, Russian, wherever you are. We have a look at some first postpositions. They're like prepositions, but they follow the word. We're looking at some of the most important ones in this chapter. And just as a note, the postpositions, even if they're written with the or g, the same rule applies that we had when we were looking at the possessive suffix second person plural, that the pronunciation of the orthographic d depends on the preceding vowel. So dek might be pronounced as tek if it's after obstruent consonants. Yeah, we continue looking at cardinal numbers now beyond 50, where we stopped last time, 60, 60th, etc. And we also look at how we can form higher numbers. If you go over 5,000, you go towards a million or so, then the Russian word million or the international word million is used. Yeah, we have a look at the interrogative particle mo, which is used to mark polar questions. And we also got some recordings here where you can hear how also sometimes intonation helps here. And sometimes, presumably under Russian influence, you mark polar questions just through intonation. We look at the verb kelshach, which means, has two basic meanings. One of them is to appeal. So it's like if you say that you like something in Mari, you don't say that I like this city, literally you say this city appeals to me. And this is the main way of saying it. Similar constructions you might know from other languages like German, where gefallen works like this. Diese Stadt gefällt mir, or Russian Ravica, Estonian Meelima, Hungarian Tetsik. This is actually a very common thing, that if that liking is denoted as X appeals to Y. And I mean, in Old English, it worked like this too, back in the very, very old days. And it can also be used, like in this case, it's generally in the third person. I say generally because it also could be if you're asking like, do you like me? I would have it in the first person. Do I appeal to you? But if you use it, but if you are inflecting it for person, usually what you're saying, if I say like, I kelchem tiden dene, with this, it means to agree. So you have to be careful. If this means, if it is with a dative, it means appealing to, so being liked. And if it's not with a dative, it means agree. Yeah, we see another strategy of asking for somebody's age or denoting somebody's age now with the dative, in addition to the yeared iash construction that we saw earlier. We look at some basic greetings in Mari. How do you say good morning? How do you say good evening? How do you say hello? We look at the difference between sai and poro, two words meaning good. But sai meaning good more in high quality, and poro meaning good more in ethically good. And being the, when you look at the counterparts, then it becomes clear what the difference is. The difference for the antonym to sai, good, is uda, bad, and the antonym to poro, good, is osal, evil. Could also be bad sometimes. Yeah, we learn how uke, which we have already met as an existential negator, there is no blah, 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 can also just be a no reply. So have you done it? No. And the stress on this word can shift. You can have either uke or you can have uke. In the text to this chapter, we have some Hungarian guests. János and Katalin are visiting Joshka and are meeting Sergei and Yelu. So you can read that text and then you can work your way through the exercises. The song of the week for this chapter is Finno-Ugristik, God's Daughter. And this is one of the sort of Mari pop classics that is so popular among the Maris that many Maris know the lyrics by heart. So you will, if you're spending times with Mari, and you oftentimes things will come to a stage where people just start singing songs together, especially in bus trips. This is popular. And Finno-Ugristik is one where the Maris generally don't need the lyrics. They know the lyrics. So if you are the kind of person who learns lyrics to songs by heart, this is a good one to learn by heart. See you in the revision chapter 5.